If you've ever seen any of my videos, you know there's this recurring theme where I don't hit record. It happened again. And I played some pretty cool stuff. I had to restart because push notifications were going off on my computer. I guess they're just called notifications. They're still push notifications. At any rate, so I haven't made a video in a few days. Maybe a week. Actually, it is a week because I tried another experiment where I batched three of them together, and I'm like, I'm going to come up with three topics, and I'm going to shoot all three of these together, and that was fine. Um, but I'm almost at the end of my experiment. Where the experiment at the beginning of the year was um, create a video starting in January. Create a video every day was the lofty goal, and see what happens. And sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go a little longer. And what I found was that you start to run out of ideas. You start to run out of things to talk about, and you're just making a video to make a video, and that's not really what I want to do. I just want to play guitar and talk about cool stuff or stuff that interests me or things that I've learned or things that I'm working on, whatever. Make videos that I would want to watch, and regurgitating the same thing over and over and over again is not something I'm interested in watching. Um, so I think I've scaled back to maybe a few a week when there's a, I'm not saying wait for inspiration to hit, but when there's a good topic to talk about, and I think I have plenty to say about the topic, and I think it's something where somebody similar to me may be thinking to the same thing, and maybe they can get some ideas, or maybe they have some insight, whatever. Um, that's kind of where I'm at with the YouTube experiment, but it has been successful. I think I have 170 some subscribers, and I think I started with like 70, maybe less, maybe 50. Maybe I've gained like 120, but it goes in waves. Like there's a video about never sacrifice lead for rhythm, which is one of the few like rules that I subscribe to, like 800 or 900 views, which is probably the most I've ever gotten on a regular video that's not a short, which is really good. And some other ones 500 and 600, but then there'd be other ones that I thought were good and they only have 50. So I think the key is to remove yourself from all of that and just make stuff that you think is cool, your art, and if people like it, that's awesome. But don't try to make stuff that you think people are going to like. Just do your thing. That's kind of where I'm at. Um, you can probably see I only have the Supro here now. I used to have a Vox and a Supro and some other stuff. The Vox is, I left it at church because I got that thing dialed in and it's sounding pretty good. And I was thinking about going back to digital for a while. I kind of go back and forth. Um, and I still just prefer the amp tone. Um, and as long as we can dial in something good and I can use the EQ to kind of shape it, and it's good and loud, I think I'm just gonna leave it there for a while and just use this is a fantastic amp. I love this amp, but you can't play out anywhere with it. It just doesn't have the headroom, but it's great for recording and home use. So I'm just gonna play that here and do that for a while. I am considering. I watched a video from a guy, Jemmy something or other, a guitar player out of Australia that's here in the States, and he did a Podgo. I have no interest in buying a Podgo, but he set it up, and man, he got some great tones out of that thing right out of the box. I was kind of impressed. So I'm thinking about buying a Stomp, an HX Stomp, which would give me um, some amp emulations if I need them, and plus it could give me some other some more banks for effects that I wouldn't have to carry an extra pedal for like a song that maybe needs some tremolo or a fuzz or something like that, or a boost. Um, Trying that as maybe a digital solution if I get to a spot where it's a quiet stage and I need to go direct. That could be a good option. But really, I just love the amps. Um, okay, so the topic. I have a confession to make. And the confession is I think I might have been wrong about a lead guitar's role. And wrong because when I first started playing guitar and guitar players had, or bands had two guitar players, you think like Rat or I guess Cinderella or any of those hair bands, right? Not bands that had one guitar player, but bands that specifically had two guitar players and specifically had a rhythm and a lead guitar player. Um, the lead guitar player would really just play guitar solos. The rest of the song he'd play the same as the other guy, pretty much. He would just play guitar solos. And so coming up, that's what I thought when people said, "Oh, you're a lead guitar player." That meant you played this guitar solos. Fast forward, lots, lots of years later, and that's kind of how I approached lead guitar, regardless of the setting, whether it's a church setting, which you may know that's where I play the most, or another setting. I still viewed it that way, right? And that's why I had the video where I played like rhythm and lead at the same time. So the chord and then whatever, right? Because that's kind of how I married the two. And then I had this thought that maybe I'm seeing it wrong, right? And mainly because I've been getting into country music a little bit and listening to some of those some of the best players on the planet right now. And they approached it a little differently. So I started to think, and I came across some articles that said that a lead guitarist's role um, is to highlight the vocal melody, and that interests me because I love to transpose the vocal melody and kind of play those instead. So I've started to implement that in my lead guitar playing, where learn the chords of the song, learn the structure of the song, then you learn the vocal melody, transpose that on guitar, and then you highlight uh, certain notes. You don't play it note for note all the time. Sometimes, not all the time, but you do that, and then you can kind of do this. It's not really a call response, but you can recall those melodies in other parts of the song to kind of reinforce that. Or maybe, say you're going into a bridge and there's an instrumental before the bridge, you can kind of hint at that vocal melody, play a few notes out of it to lead into that bridge to let the listener know that, oh, this is where we're going. And then when they hear it, they recognize it, right? That type of thing. So um, it's not far off of the way I typically play if I'm playing over a chord progression. My fear is that I'm going to stomp over the vocal. That's probably the second rule that I subscribe to is never play over the vocal. And I don't really want to do that. But if I can hit notes, partial chords, double stops and stuff um, to kind of highlight that vocal melody, and then there's not really a lot of guitar solos anymore. That type of music just doesn't really exist anymore. So I think a growth spot for me. I feel like I've been pretty stagnant for a lot. Like I've grown in my knowledge, but I don't think I've grown in what I play. At least in a church setting or a live setting in front of people, I think I've got comfortable, um, and I like my style. Other people seem to like my style, so I think I just kind of settled into that. And well, oh, this is what I sound like, and I haven't grown. So that's something I'm doing to grow. Um, is highlighting parts of that vocal melody as a lead guitar player to kind of pull those things out. Um, and that's kind of what I was doing in the beginning there. Really, I was just like, if I play that progression again, it's B, F sharp, C sharp minor, E. So that's my B, right? And well, that's actually not part of the 5. So that would be the B here. So my notes really are this one, this one. That's the third of that. You can kind of pick up the second of that if you want to. So it's really just pentatonic notes with picking up those chord tones and kind of leaving it sing. And I like to approach the guitar in a vocal sense anyway. So when I play melodies over chords, that's typically what I'm doing. Not as well as Derek Trucks, but that sort of style. Something like that. So that's what I'm working on. Approaching lead guitar in a new way when I'm playing lead guitar, and then doing my same stuff that I've always done for rhythm. Um, that's it, really. So that's the topic for today. I think for us older folks, maybe we need to revisit what lead guitar actually means and work on really supporting that vocal melody without stepping on it, which is the balancing act in its own right, to make something melodic and musical, and it sounds good, and it reinforces what's being sung, without like you shouldn't notice the guitar that much. Like if you listen really close, you should be able to hear some stuff, but really it should just tighten in with what the vocalist is singing. Maybe more on that in the future once I learn how to do it a little better. That's all I got. So enjoy the rest of your week. I'll talk to you later.